This is Joy News Prime with me, Emefa Apawu. In the next 1 hour, Queen Elizabeth II, the UK's longest-serving monarch, has died at Balmoral, aged 96, after reigning for 70 years. We have a special coverage of Queen Elizabeth II's death right here on the Joy News channel on Joy Prime. And much later, we'll take a look at the fresh evidence from Minerals Commission's investigative report revealing Elembele DCE has been an active vanguard in the fight against illegal mining in Western Region, leading arrest of several illegal miners polluting water bodies.
It's unfortunate. Maybe every misfortune comes with its own blessing. Meanwhile, there's one more excavator to be found. We have confidence that the same process through which they found the one excavator, they will use the same process to find the second excavator.
I'll be joining my colleagues in the United Kingdom, Daniel Datsey, Matilda Wemega, and of course, Gifty Ando-Apia. But before I get to them, let's hear from the UK's Prime Minister Liz Truss addressing the nation earlier. We'll go live now to the United Kingdom. My colleague Daniel Datsey, it's in London where the Queen lived and worked. Matilda Wemega is in Scotland, nearer to where she died, Marlborough. She also joins me via Zoom. And of course, Gifty Ando-Apia is in Wales, where the next king, King Charles III, was named. And thank you very much for your time this evening. Daniel, let's start with you. Of course, you are in the heart of the UK today, where the Queen lived and worked. Let's talk about what the situation is now. Of course, is that of a somber mood, but tell us more.
Very somber mood indeed, Emefa. Very dark day for most Britons who are currently trying to come to terms with the reality of what has happened. It was a very strange announcement that came earlier today when we heard that the Queen was not in good health. It was quite unusual to hear that from Buckingham Palace. Her health has always been seen as a private matter. So you can imagine how strange it was for us to hear that. Throughout the day, crowds gathered around Buckingham Palace trying to get an understanding of what exactly the situation was, and also simply to wish the Queen well. The same happened at Balmoral in Scotland, where I'm sure Matilda can catch us up on what happened there. Her family gathered by her side, and unfortunately we heard those news. Now, of course, you've said already, Emefa, the role that the Queen played really in the United Kingdom. She ruled at a time of transition where the United Kingdom moved from colonial master to first among equals among the League of Nations. And a lot of people describe her as someone who has carried her crown with dignity and grace. She's brought a lot of stability to the throne. And it's definitely a sad day for most Britons, and it's a loss that will take quite a while for people living here to recover from.
Okay. Well, Matilda, for many, it appears that Operation London Bridge was on from morning, because when the issue about her concern, the health concern was raised earlier, most people thought that this must have happened earlier. But really, what was the talk in Marlborough, Aberdeen, Scotland? What really was the situation as you monitored it all day?
Sure. So, Emefa, thank you very much. It's a sad day for the Scottish people because of the deep connection that the Queen has with the Scottish people, and they describe it as very fitting that the Queen spent her very last days here in Scotland, Balmoral, which is not too far from where I live. And since the news came out this afternoon about the state of the Queen's health, people thronged the Balmoral estate just to catch a glimpse of the royals who have been arriving from London all afternoon, and they defy the rains. It's been raining all day here in Scotland, and people have been standing in the rain, and they've been sharing their best wishes among themselves, describing who the Queen is, even though at that time her death had not been announced. You know, it tells you of how deep these people feel with the Queen, because we all know that Balmoral is her summer residence, a place where she spent most of her summertime, and people say that because of this connection that the Queen has with the Scottish people, they find it very fitting that she had to spend her last days here. So for the Scottish people, they are deeply grieved, just like all of us here. They are deeply grieved about the sudden passing of the Queen. But, you know, some will say that was it expected? We cannot say that. We leave that in the hands of God. But of course, this didn't come to people with so much shock because of the statement that came earlier in the day. So it kind of prepared people's minds already on what to expect. But already we've also heard from the first Scottish minister, that's Nicola Sturgeon, who has already tweeted just when the official statement was released. She tweeted and sharing the condolences on behalf of the people of Scotland with the wider world, as well as the Aberdeenshire Council. They have already declared a 10-day mourning period for the Queen. So it tells you of how the Scottish people feel very connected with the Queen, and also find it very, not excited, but they find it very fitting that she had to spend her last days here in Balmoral, Aberdeen.
Well, Gifty, it appears for some, it's like the day they've all been waiting for, hoping that we'll see it in our lifetime, even though it's a sad day. Prince Charles finally becomes a king, and he's going to be named King Charles III. But before we talk about coronation plans, amongst others, let's talk about how residents of Wales have been receiving this particular news. You would have to unmute, Gifty.
Yes, I know, sorry. Like Matilda said, it's been raining all day. And it's not just in Scotland, it's been raining here in Wales as well. The relationship, the Welsh connection there is a bit complex, because a lot of people, it's sort of 50-50. So you have people who really love the Queen, and you have people who feel like, the title, the Prince of Wales itself, they feel like it's something that was expected to make Wales subservient to Britain or to England itself, right? So there's a bit of a funny relationship, but there are lots of people, especially among the Christian community, who feel very attached to it, and they are very excited about the way that the Queen always referred to Jesus Christ, for example, in his Christmas messages. And so among the religious community, you hear some of these things going on. But the title, the Prince of Wales, is actually something that the king passes passes on to their son, their first sons, which is why, as we know, the title is going to be passed on to Prince William. Exactly. So it's no longer his title is no longer the Prince of Wales. It's gone. It's an automatic sort of transfer. So that's what is going to happen. At the moment, I feel like it's sort of 50-50 or 70-30 of people who feel it's a mixed reaction you get from here. But generally, people are very attached to this Queen. They love her. Especially you hear this talk among women. She's an inspiration to a lot of women, and they really, really, really love that stability that she brought to the monarchy. You also hear people who feel like, well, they are people who are not for the monarchy. They feel like the monarchy is, it represents something that they don't want to associate with. But again, there's massive love. And I hear that earlier there was a rainbow actually on top of Buckingham Palace, and a lot of people are reading all kinds of meanings into it, like, this is significant. It is indeed significant. So yeah, the shock is across the board. Exactly. There you go. The shock is across the board. The sadness is overwhelming. People here in Wales, I'm yet to get a lot more connection, a lot more of the reactions, right? But for the Welsh people themselves, some of them, those that I've spoken to, some feel, well, they're indifferent, but others feel, well, this is a significant loss to us all.
Well, we know that in Scotland, 10 days of mourning has been declared. But let's go to London. And I don't know, Daniel, if you witnessed or you saw that rainbow over Buckingham Palace. I'm sure is the talk amongst you all. Tell us a bit about it, and then we'll talk about plans after this. I'm sure there will be subsequent announcements that you can fill us in on. Oh, unfortunately, I've lost Daniel, but I'm sure Scotland and Wales not far away, and you'll be monitoring the situation, Gifty and Tilly. I don't know if you've heard the talk about that rainbow over Buckingham Palace and what the reactions has been to that we can talk about the plans that have been outlined in terms of the mourning and the burial, amongst others.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can talk about the Buckingham Palace. It's the seat, like the Queen's office, right? That's where she worked from. And it's crowded, as you can see in the videos that you were showing earlier, people with their phones. And a short while ago, I was just watching, people were just clapping and they were cheering. There was this thing that the 3 chairs, and I think it has a meaning for the British people. And it's like a celebration of her life. I mean, with the rainbow, people are saying, like, I don't know, like, it's been raining and then you have a rainbow on top of the Buckingham Palace. It's quite significant. I don't know the religious meanings we can read into it, but I will say it's significant. And people are saying that means something. I guess they're not really sure what that means, but I guess they also read meanings into the end of, as they call it, the Elizabethan era, which is the end of an era and then also the beginning of another era for the king who is taking over. Also remember that the family is bereaved. So just as the queen, she took over when her father had died, when she was young. The same is happening to her son. The only difference is that her son is older, matured. He's been through his own topsy-turvy relationships. By his side will be the queen's consort, which is Camilla, who, of course, had a very, the relationship between the prince at the time and, Camilla was very complicated at the time. So a lot of people had thought, well, the wife might not get that title as the queen's consort. Okay. But the queen made it very clear before she died. Did you want to come in, Emefa?
No, you can finish on that. Then we can talk about plans for the next 10 days.
Okay, I guess I was just jumping the gun there. Yeah, so a lot of meanings have been read into the rainbow sign, but it's going to be very busy at the Buckingham Palace. Christians feel they are excited about how she consistently referred to Jesus Christ in his Christmas messages. Women feel she has been an inspiration for women in leadership, for mothers, for grandmothers. She has been a phenomenal family woman. Stayed with her husband through through the moment, had a husband who stood by her, so there are a lot of things to learn from her. Let me just hand over to Tilly now.
Okay.
Then if you want us to go forward, we can.
Well, Tilly, you've been talking about the 10 days declared in Scotland. Is there a particular lineup of events and activities that we should be looking out for?
We are yet to get details of the lineup of activities for the next 10 days. But what we do know is that there's Operation Unicorn, which is a code name for the Scottish people should the Queen die, what the plans are going to be here in Scotland. So it is believed that the coffin of the funeral will rest in Holyrood, which is in Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, where people will be, there will be ceremonial procession on the busy streets of Edinburgh signifying her death. But we don't know if that plan is going to take through yet. So we are waiting for more official communication on that. But what we know is that Operation Unicorn is likely to take effect, especially because she died here in Scotland.
Okay. Well, Gifty, in wrapping up, because we'll get more reactions, there's a lot of tweets, there's a lot of talk activity on social media expected on this. We'll be getting through to them shortly. Most of the tweets from heads of states, presidents across the country who've been tweeting on this. But Gifty, do we know if there are any activities, any lineup in terms of, and I'm sure we can talk about some legacies, of course, shortly, and then we can wrap up on that.
Well, I don't know whether there's going to be anything here in Wales at the moment, but there certainly will be. There has to be. The Welsh Parliament itself is a very small parliament. It's got just a little over, it's about 60 parliamentarians, and so they keep everything simple and short. But there certainly is going to be something like that. And I'm told by some of my Welsh friends here that the older generation of Welsh people tend to be very connected or attached to the monarchy. So I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of people, a lot of the older generation, express their thoughts and express their feelings about this. In terms of a national mourning, I think it's not just in Scotland, it's across the UK, and I think there'll be some holidays as well. The flags are at the moment flying at half-mast. The leaders from across the political divide have been talking. The expectation, hopefully, is that this phenomenal moment will also bring some sort of unity, because the political scene of the United Kingdom had been quite turbulent in the couple months. Now that it looks as if she was just waiting to usher in the new Prime Minister,
yeah,
who has been in office for barely 2 days. and she was probably the last person, to have met the Queen. And we saw her. I mean, when you saw her, you saw
I imagine it would be a tough time for her as a Prime Minister, knowing that she's just coming in and the Queen has just passed. But Gifty Ando-Appiah there joining us from Wales, and my colleague Matilda Wemega also joining us from Scotland. Earlier, Daniel Datsey joined us from London, where the Queen lived and worked. And of course, we've been interacting with all of you. It's good to see you, not knowing that it will be under these circumstances, though. I wish you well, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. And these were my colleagues on that. But we'll be hearing from Ghana's former High Commissioner to the UK, Mr. Victor Smith, and we're told that Parliament in the UK is currently sitting about this, and hopefully we'll get to speak to an MP in Parliament on this particular development. And we all know already that Prince Charles will now be King Charles III, and we're monitoring events, bringing you a special coverage here on Joy News, Joy Prime, live on myjoyonline.com as well. We'll take some social media reactions as well, but let me see if we have Ghana's former High Commissioner to the UK, Victor Smith, joining us via Zoom as well. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're hoping you won't be under these circumstances, but of course, it may be a sad day, but of course, it's a celebration of life as well, of Queen Elizabeth II. Let me talk about how this whole news came to you. We're monitoring it the whole day, but what will be your immediate reaction to all this? Please unmute, Mr. Smith.
Can you hear me?
It's much better now. We can hear you. We'll try again. Mr. Smith, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Super. So I was asking, I'm sure now we all know that Queen Elizabeth II has passed. There were concerns about her health all day that we've been monitoring in the UK. You've been in the UK, worked there for quite some time. Let's talk about how you're reacting to this news.
Thank you very much, Emefa. We're having a meeting, former ambassadors of Ghana. We're having some meeting in somewhere in East Legon with the former president, John Mahama, when, I started hearing all these things about is she dead or what's happening, and the royal family are being asked to travel to Balmoral, and there was a sense of urgency about it, and most people could guess that probably she's gone, probably she's going. Well, we all sat there, and it still was not confirmed. We kept monitoring. This wasn't confirmed. And then I checked with the contact I have in the palace. He wasn't being straight with me, but he was saying that it's a very sad day in England. Obviously, it's a sad day, meaning that Her Majesty is gone, but there was no confirmation. That's when we started actually, knowing that something had happened and she had died. So, if I can hear me?
Mr. Smith, but let's talk about legacies and how Queen Elizabeth II will be remembered. You have been in and out of government, worked with the former president, amongst others, and you have been in the UK, like you say, you've been working your contacts amongst others. But let's talk about that working relationship amongst others. What will be the legacy for you, for Queen Elizabeth, if there are any memories as well?
Well, let me say, I had the opportunity to meet Her Majesty when I presented my credentials to Her Majesty sometime in 2014. And that's when I got the first opportunity to speak to her. But of course, I'd seen her, met her, said hello to her when she came to Ghana. And I must say that when I had the opportunity to interact with her about presentation of my credentials, I could see that this woman was very alert, even at that age. She was, I think, about 90 or thereabouts. And she was very alert, taking issues by issues on current happenings in the world. We discussed Ghana, we discussed Africa, we discussed ECOWAS, we discussed, at that time, I think Ebola was around. We talked about that. She talked about when she was in Ghana, way back in the 60s, okay, and then the second time when President Rawlings was president, you could see she was very alert and she was on top of her brief. So this was an old lady who wasn't senile, wasn't tired. She was still alert at that age. So I can say that, and of course, we went to the Commonwealth in Trinidad at one point, and the last one outside UK was in Malta. And each time, yes, she had her speeches done for her, but when she engages you in a discussion, she was very alert. That I could say 100% for her. I really, really respected her. She wasn't one of those old people who seem to be lost, when they're discussing things, but she was very alert. And I quite agree with the Prime Minister saying that Queen Elizabeth was the rock on which modern Britain was built. There's no doubt about it. She was a real rock for this people, and the people respected her, and they sort of made her feel respected, and everybody respected her, whether you like the monarch or not. We sort of respected her, very calm lady, and this is what I see of her, very much on top of her brief.
Well, and for you, that's what she will be remembered for. But in terms of the impact or the effect of this death on Commonwealth, for instance, would it be felt? How serious would it be, you would say?
Well, she started handing over to Prince Charles in Malta. She said it's my last one out of the country, and that I'll be handing over to my son, Prince Charles, because I think she did the last one in England. She wasn't going to travel anymore because her health was beginning to, to fail a little bit, So as the head of state of the Commonwealth, I think she was a real rock. I hope Prince Charles can live up to the mother's, respect within the Commonwealth and then within England as well. She was solid. I mean, there's no doubt about, what she was. I mean, she did what she was told to do, but respect was there and recognition was there.
Mr. Victor Smith, we are grateful. We'll leave it here. That's Ghana's former High Commissioner to the UK, Victor Smith, there speaking to us on Queen Elizabeth II's death. And there are a lot of reactions on social media. Like you said earlier, a lot of presidents have been tweeting. Of course, President Akufo-Addo has been tweeting on it as well. We'll take some of these tweets. But first, watch this. With the social media reactions first, and then we can watch some more, memories of Queen Elizabeth II. And President Akufo-Addo is tweeting another handle, Nana Akufo-Addo. It says, on behalf of the government and people of Ghana, I extend deepest condolences to the new British monarch, King Charles III, the royal family, the Prime Minister, and the government and the people of Great Britain on the death today of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And that's President Akufo-Addo's tweet. There are a lot of other tweets also from other presidents across the country also tweeting on this. He continues to say, in honor of her memory, I have directed that all official flags in the nation fly at half-mast for 7 days as from tomorrow, Friday, 9th September. So that's the directive in Ghana. And may God bless her soul and give her peaceful rest in his bosom until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall meet again. And my thoughts and the thoughts of all Ghanaians at home and abroad are with Queen Elizabeth II. That was earlier when there were concerns about her health, and he was wishing her well. And Emmanuel Macron, France president, has also been tweeting, and he says, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II embodied the British nation's continuity and unity for over 70 years. I remember her as a friend of France, a kind-hearted queen who was left a lasting impression on her country and her century. And the French continues. I wish I could read that for you, but I know you understand English, so I don't have to go through that. And President Biden, US president, has also been tweeting on that, and we'll go through that statement shortly. You can understand my glasses, so I might get a better glasses, then we can go through that. But Boris Johnson, the immediate past Prime Minister of the UK, has also been tweeting, but that's President Biden's tweet, and it says, this Boris Johnson, I beg your pardon, he says, this is our country's saddest day. In the heart of every one of us, there is an arch at the passing of our Queen, a deep and personal sense of loss, far more intense, perhaps, than we expected. In these first grim moments since the news, I know that millions and millions of people have been pausing whatever they've been doing to think about Queen Elizabeth, about the bright and shining light that has finally gone out. She seemed so timeless and so wonderful that I am afraid we had come to believe, like children, that she would just go on and on. Wave after wave of grief is rolling across the world, from Balmoral, where our thoughts are with all the royal family, and breaking far beyond this country and throughout that great Commonwealth. And it also goes on to say, as is so natural with human beings, it is only when we face the reality of our loss that we truly understand what has gone. It is only really now that we grasp how much she meant for us, and how much she did for us, how much she loved us. As we think of the void she leaves, we understand the vital role she played, selflessly and calmly embodying the continuity and unity of our country. We think of her deep wisdom and historic understanding, and her seemingly inexhaustible but understated sense of duty. Relentless though her diary must have felt, she never once let it show. And to tens of thousands of events, great and small, she brought her smile and warmth and her gentle humor. And for an unrivaled 70 years, she spread that magic around her kingdom. That's Boris Johnson. And I'll go through the last part. It's a beautiful poem. It says, "This is our country's saddest day because she had a unique and simple power to make us happy. That is why we loved her. That is why we grieve for Elizabeth the Great, the longest serving and in many ways the finest monarch in our history. It was one of her best achievements that she not only modernized the constitutional monarchy, but produced an heir to her throne who will amply do justice to her legacy, and whose own sense of duty is in the best traditions of his mother and his country. Though our voices may still be choked with sadness, we can say with confidence the words not heard in this country more than 7 decades: God save the king." That's right, Honourable Boris Johnson, MP. And we are told MPs are currently locked up in Parliament. We're following events in the United Kingdom. There are more tweets on social media. And we'll go through POTUS. He's been tweeting as well. That's President Biden, President of the United States. We'll go through that tweet as well. But we'll go for a quick break here on Joy News Prime. I'm sure we'll take you with some videos and sights and sounds of when she visited Ghana.
This is the day 5 million Ghanaians will go gay. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip will be here that special day. We'll drink and dance the whole day and put on Kente Fine on that Thursday, 12th November 1959. May God bless this fine Thursday when all Ghana will go gay. With Elizabeth, we love you. Akwaba wa wa too.
Thanks for staying with us, and we go on to some other stories. We're expecting that later King Charles III will be addressing the nation, and as and when that happens, we'll bring that to you. We also have a lineup of the next 10 days, what is going to happen. And we've been hearing from President Akufo-Addo on plans here in Ghana, and all flags are flying at half-mast. Moving away from the UK back to Ghana, some stories making the headlines and fresh evidence from an investigative report by the Minerals Commission on illegal mining in the Western Region reviews. The Elembele DCE, Kwesi Bonzo, has been an active vanguard in the fight against illegal mining in the district. A report on the alleged illegal mining behind the official residence of the Nkroful District Magistrate indicated that the DCE has been leading the arrest of several illegal miners polluting water bodies in the district. The DCE in the past few days has come under intense pressure following the disappearance of some excavators, and he was granted bail last night after being charged with offensive conduct and assault for allegedly attempting to obstruct an operation aimed at retrieving 2 excavators which went missing after they were impounded for being used in illegal mining activity. Well, Kwesi Bonso has denied these allegations of obstructing the police. He's asking the owners of the excavators to also be brought to book.
It's unfortunate for anybody to say that we are implicated. For heaven's sake, we were the first to break the news of the missing excavators. When the press came to me, I informed you that the last time the excavators were seen in Elembele was around 2 p.m. on Wednesday, 31st August, when we invited the police to take over and watch the excavators. Subsequently, there has been several discrepancies in the account. And after that, the police issued a statement that myself, Mr. Penny, who is a member of the District Small-Scale Mining Committee, who is the one who went to the illegal mining site and impounded excavators, we are under investigation, plus one other person who happens to be the NIB officer. So since the police issued a statement last Saturday, it is supposed that the excavators are in our custody, because remember the police denied taking custody of the excavator in their statement. So it's supposed that the excavators were in our custody. It is for that reason that when we got hint that some excavator was being transported out of the district, like any rational human being, we got interested. Because in the first place, the police, through a statement, has said that the excavators is in our custody, that we never handed over any excavator to police custody. And this was a written statement issued by the police. I think it's unfortunate. Maybe every misfortune comes with its own blessing. Meanwhile, there's one more excavator to be found. We have confidence that the same process through which they found the one excavator, they will use the same process to find the second excavator. And then also, the owners of the excavators must be found and brought to book.
And the 4 suspects who were detained by the police for alleged obstruction over the controversial missing excavator have all been granted bail. Now, the lawyer for the suspects, who is also counsel for DCE, the Salome Erica Abaka, tells journalists the 4 were charged with different counts.
Different charges for the 4 of them, but then one paramount charge that runs through most of them is the offensive conduct, like they have exhibited conduct and the conspiracy to commit crime to wait offensive conduct.
We were told, we heard 5 charges have been dropped. Do you have this piece of information?
None that I'm aware. I have not been told anything. I have not been told that these charges against the Honorable DC.
That's the lawyer there. Western Regional Correspondent Natalia Kwanza joins us on the line for more on this. Ina, so you've been following this all day. You've been in court, I know, all day. What more can you report to us? What will be the latest? We've been hearing from the DC on this. What's next?
Well, Emefa, so for now, I can confidently say that all 4 suspects plus the DCE are in Elembele as we speak. And then just like the lawyer rightly said, they would assist in police investigation. So as and when they are being called upon, they would come. So for now, everything is calm. They are back to their family.
Well, there were earlier concerns raised by NPP supporters about the DC being a vanguard in terms of illegal mining and how he's been neglected. Have we since heard from the Western Regional Minister and maybe the regional chairman of the party?
No, Emefa, we've not heard from the regional minister nor the regional chairman of the party. I am aware that the regional chairman, the DCA, was at the police headquarters this afternoon, but he did not say a word to the media. The Western Regional Minister is still on a tour in the Nzima area. I understand this afternoon that he was at Elembele, where Kwesi Bonso is the district chief executive.
Okay, that's Natalia Kwanza. Many thanks for that great reporting on this particular story. She's still following up on it. As and when we get more, we'll bring that to you. And 2 suspects in custody over the violent clashes at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have been refused bail for the 2nd time. This is to allow prosecution to arrest other suspects and gather enough evidence for the case pending at the Sokore Mampong District Court. Defense counsels are, however, unhappy with the court's decision, indicating a likelihood to seek redress at a higher court. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Friends and family of the two were emotional after the proceedings. They had come to court optimistic of securing bail for the two. Prosecution was in court to present a new charge sheet in correspondence to the investigations. Head of Legal and Prosecution at Ashanti Regional Police Command, ACP Kofi Blagoji, presented names of 11 more suspects as well as evidence of the distraction caused in the riots.
No. We are still investigating the matter. So we draw with a new charge sheet. They said we substituted the charge sheet and then presented the court with a new charge sheet. Yeah, so we are on with the matter. So right now we presented about I got about 67 names. Yes. So and then now we are able to get the names of the other accused persons split out. And that's what we presented to the court.
Prosecution further argued the suspects should remain in custody as investigators go after other suspects. Defense counsels argued otherwise, insisting the two should be granted bail. They argued suspects Daniel Osebunsu and Francis Tutu Etuahene will have to report for examination and work respectively. William Asamoah Safo is counsel for Daniel.
The students, they are about to write their exams. They have not committed murder. There's no way that they are going to interfere with the police investigation. So that is why we were pleading with the Honorable Court to grant them bail. Whenever they are needed, they will come. And then the worker too. You see, the unemployment in the country. A lot of young people, they have completed school, but there's no job. So if the court decided that they are not going to grant him bail, and then it's
So we wrap up tonight's edition of Joy News Prime. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Coming up next, though, you want to stay for it. Prime Business with Beverly Broom. I am Emefa Apawu.